My parents added themselves to my bank account for emergencies. They used my $87,000 savings to buy my brother a house. Hey friends, got a sec? Drop your thoughts in the comments and hit subscribe. It's quick for you, but it really means a lot to us. Alright, let's dive into today's story. Original post, posted to r/relationships. I'm Michael, 29M, and I need some perspective on a situation with my parents, Robert, 56M, and Patricia, 54F. 3 weeks ago, they approached me about adding them to my bank account for emergencies. They explained that as they're getting older, they worry about medical emergencies or sudden expenses, and having access to some funds would give them peace of mind. Here's the background. I've always been the responsible one in our family. While my older brother James, 31M, bounced between jobs and crashed at our parents' house multiple times throughout his 20s, I went to college on scholarships, got my engineering degree, and have been working steadily for 7 years. I've saved aggressively, about $87,000 sitting in my savings account, earmarked for a house down payment. My parents have always been middle class but not great with money. Dad works in sales, Mom's a part-time bookkeeper. They've helped James financially countless times, paying off his credit cards, covering his rent when he was between opportunities, even buying him a car after he totaled his last one. I never complained because I was self-sufficient and understood they worried about him. When they asked about the bank account, Mom had tears in her eyes. "We're not getting younger, Michael," she said. "Your father's health isn't what it used to be. What if something happens and we need immediate access to funds? You know how slow insurance can be." Dad added, "We'd never touch it unless absolutely necessary. You know we're proud of how responsible you are. This would just be a safety net." I suggested alternatives, helping them set up their own emergency fund, adding me to their accounts so I could help if needed, even setting up a separate joint account with a smaller amount. But they insisted it would be easier to just add them to mine. They said they'd already talked to their banker friend who confirmed this was the simplest solution. "Michael, don't you trust us?" Mom asked, looking hurt. "After everything we've done for you?" That stung. They had been good parents. They came to every school event, supported my education, never asked me for money despite helping James constantly. Was I being paranoid? Other friends had their parents on their accounts with no issues. After a week of consideration and multiple conversations where they assured me repeatedly they'd never touch the money without discussing it first, I agreed. We went to the bank together last Tuesday. The banker, who did seem to know them well, made it seem routine. "Lots of families do this for emergency planning," he said. Now, I'm second-guessing myself. James called yesterday, making odd comments about big changes coming, and how Mom and Dad really came through this time. When I asked what he meant, he got evasive and changed the subject. I checked my account, everything's still there, but something feels off. My girlfriend Jennifer thinks I made a huge mistake. She says her parents would never ask for this kind of access, that it crosses boundaries. But she doesn't know my family like I do. They've never given me reason not to trust them before. Am I overthinking this? How do I balance being a good son with protecting my financial future? Update 1, posted 8 days later. I can barely type this. My hands are shaking. Remember my post about adding my parents to my bank account? I need to update you all, and I need advice desperately. This morning, I went to check my account balance to transfer money for my car payment. The screen showed $247.83. $247.83. That's all that's left of my $87,000 in savings. I thought it was a mistake. A glitch. I refreshed the app 5 times. I called the bank's automated system. Same number. I drove to the bank, still in my pajama pants, and demanded to speak to a manager. The transaction history made my stomach drop. 5 days ago, just 3 days after I added them to the account, there was a wire transfer for $85,000 to a title company. The memo line read, "Earnest money and down payment, 4257, Oak Ridge Drive." The manager, different from the one who'd helped us set up the account, pulled up more details. The transfer was authorized in person by Patricia Robinson, my mother, with all proper documentation. She had every legal right to make the transfer as an account holder. I sat in that bank office feeling like the world was spinning. The manager kept talking about how I could file a police report for theft, but since I'd voluntarily added them to the account, it would be considered a civil matter, not criminal. "It's technically their money too, legally speaking," she said apologetically. I drove straight to my parents' house. Mom's car was in the driveway, but no one answered. I have a key from house sitting, so I let myself in. They weren't home, but on the kitchen counter was a folder from Stevenson Realty. Inside were purchase documents for a house at 4257 Oak Ridge Drive. The buyer's name, James Robinson. My brother. The purchase price was $420,000. The down payment from gift funds was $84,000. There was a gift letter signed by my parents stating the funds were a gift to James with no expectation of repayment. I called my mom immediately. She answered on the third ring, her voice artificially bright. "Hi, honey. How's your day going? How's my day going? How's my day going? You stole my entire savings." Silence. Then, "Now, Michael, we didn't steal anything. We're just helping your brother get on his feet. You know how hard it's been for him. With my money." "It's not just your money. We're on the account too. And we've given you so much over the years. We paid for your car insurance in college, I paid you back for that. Every penny. While you were handing James money, he never returned." My father got on the phone then. His voice was stern, the way it used to get when I was in trouble as a kid. "Michael, you need to calm down. Your brother needed this. You have a good job, you can save up again. James doesn't have the opportunities you've had." "Opportunities? I worked for everything I have. You need to think about family, son. Sometimes we make sacrifices for family." I hung up. I couldn't listen anymore. I drove to James's apartment. He answered the door with a huge grin. "Hey, little brother. Guess you heard the news. You knew. You knew they were going to steal from me." His smile faltered slightly. "Steal? Come on, Mike. Mom and Dad wanted to help me out. They said you'd understand eventually. Besides, you make good money. You'll bounce back. That was my house down payment." "Well, now it's mine," he said, the smile completely gone. "And I'm grateful to Mom and Dad for making it happen. Maybe if you weren't so selfish with your money, they wouldn't have had to go behind your back." I wanted to hit him. I've never wanted to hit anyone in my life, but in that moment, I understood violence. Instead, I walked away. Jennifer's at work, but she texted back immediately when I told her, "I'm so sorry, baby. Come over after my shift. We'll figure this out." I've contacted 3 lawyers this afternoon. 2 said essentially the same thing. Since I voluntarily added them to the account, I have very little legal recourse. The third said I could try suing for breach of fiduciary duty, but it would be expensive and uncertain. I can't believe this is happening. 7 years of saving, of living below my means, of skipping vacations and driving a 10-year-old Honda while James bought new gaming systems and went to Vegas. 7 years of being responsible, and they just took it. The house closing is in 3 weeks. James will move into a beautiful 4-bedroom house in a nice neighborhood, bought with my dreams, while I'm back to zero. Worse than zero, I'm 29 with nothing to show for nearly a decade of work. I don't know what to do. Do I pursue legal action? Do I cut them off completely? How do I move forward from this betrayal? Update 2, posted 3 weeks later. The house closed yesterday. I know because James posted photos on Instagram of him holding the keys, captioned, "Homeowner at last. Thanks Mom and Dad for believing in me. House #blessed #new beginnings." The comments from family members who don't know the truth made me sick. "So proud of you," from our aunt. "Your parents are wonderful," from our cousin. "Hard work pays off," from our grandmother. That last one was especially bitter. I've learned more details since my last update. My parents had been planning this for months. Months. While they were having Sunday dinners with me, while Mom was asking about my work and Dad was giving me investment advice, they were scheming to steal my future. I found out through my mom's sister, Aunt Linda, who called me after seeing James's post. She'd known something was off when my parents had been asking everyone about helping family and what sacrifices mean. When she pressed them after seeing the Instagram post, Mom broke down and told her everything, spinning it as some noble sacrifice I was too selfish to make voluntarily. "Your mother seems to think you owe them," Aunt Linda told me, disgust clear in her voice. "She said you've always been independent, never needed their help like James, so this was just evening things out." I told her she was delusional. Here's what I've pieced together. James had been looking at houses for 6 months but couldn't qualify for a mortgage. His credit is shot from years of financial irresponsibility. My parents knew I'd never agree to give him my savings, so they hatched this plan. The banker friend, who helped set up the account? He's James's friend from high school who now works at the bank. They deliberately chose him because they knew he wouldn't ask too many questions. The legal update: I did hire a lawyer, emptying my checking account to pay the retainer. We sent a demand letter to my parents and James. Their response, through their own lawyer? The transfer was legal, the gift letter is binding, and I have no claim to the funds or the house. They actually counter-threatened to sue me for harassment if I didn't stop contacting them about it. Yes, you read that right. My parents, who stole $85,000 from me, threatened to sue me for harassment. I've tried reaching out to extended family, hoping shame might motivate my parents to make this right. Some are supportive but feel helpless. Others think I should let it go for the sake of family peace. My grandmother actually said, "Well, you're young. You have time to earn more money." James needed help now. Jennifer has been my rock through this. She's letting me move in with her to save money while I rebuild. The irony isn't lost on me. I had been planning to propose, to buy a house for US to start our life together. Now I'm moving into her one-bedroom apartment with nothing to contribute but my anger and what's left of my checking account. My work has suffered. I'm an engineer who needs to focus on precise calculations, but I find myself staring at my screen, running the numbers over and over. $85,000. That's 1,416 hours of overtime. That's every bonus I've earned. That's every raise I negotiated for, every lunch I packed instead of buying, every happy hour I skipped to save money. The depression hit last week. Not the dramatic, crying kind. The numb kind. The, what's the point, kind. I work, I come home to Jennifer's apartment, I sleep. I've stopped answering texts from mutual friends who've heard both sides, and think I should forgive my parents, because they're family. James sent me a text yesterday, "You should come see the house sometime. Maybe if you see how happy I am, you'll understand why Mom and Dad did this." I didn't reply. What could I say that wouldn't make me sound like the bitter younger brother he's painting me as to everyone? Update 3, posted 6 weeks later. It's been 2 months since my parents stole my life savings, and I need to update you all on how spectacularly this has blown up in their faces. First, the immediate aftermath. James moved into his house 3 weeks ago. He threw a housewarming party, which my parents attended, posting photos on Facebook about being proud parents and family supporting family. I wasn't invited, obviously, but Jennifer's friend Ashley was. She's dating James's friend. She reported back that James was bragging about his investment savvy and how he'd finally made it. What James didn't mention at his party, he'd already missed his first mortgage payment. See, here's what my parents and James didn't consider in their master plan. A $420,000 house comes with a $336,000 mortgage after the stolen down payment. With James's sketchy employment history, the only way he qualified was with my parents as co-signers. The monthly payment, about $2,800 with taxes and insurance. James's current job? Part-time at a sporting goods store, making maybe $2,000 a month. My parents, in their infinite wisdom, assumed James would suddenly become responsible once he had a house. That homeownership would magically transform their chronically unemployed, financially irresponsible son into a productive member of society. They figured he'd get a better job, maybe rent out rooms, make it work somehow. 3 days after missing the payment, James called our parents in a panic. He needed $2,800 immediately or the bank would start foreclosure proceedings. My parents, having depleted their savings to help with closing costs and moving expenses for James, scrambled to cover it. They paid it, barely. Then the property tax bill arrived. Somehow, in all their planning, nobody had looked into the supplemental tax bill that comes due when a property changes hands in our state. Another $3,200 James didn't have. My parents put it on their credit card. Then James's car broke down. The transmission went out on his 2018 Mustang. Yes, he drives a Mustang he can't afford while I drove a responsible Honda. $4,000 to repair. He needed it to get to work, he said. My parents took out a personal loan. But the real karma started when Aunt Linda decided she'd had enough. She works in HR at a major company and has connections throughout our industry. She made some calls. Within 2 weeks, the story of what my parents did had spread through our extended professional network. My father, who works in sales, suddenly found several clients backing out of deals. "We prefer to work with people we can trust," one told him directly. Mom's bookkeeping clients started asking questions. 3 of her long-term clients fired her after losing confidence in her ethical standards. She's down to half her usual income. Meanwhile, I've been rebuilding. Jennifer's been incredible, and something unexpected happened. My story went viral in our local Facebook community group after someone, I suspect Aunt Linda, posted about it. A GoFundMe was started without my knowledge. I was mortified at first, but Jennifer convinced me to let it run. Your parents stole from you and faced no legal consequences. Let the community give you justice, she said. It raised $12,000 in 3 weeks. Not my full $85,000, but enough to give me hope. Several people who donated were my father's former clients, which had to sting. But here's where it gets really interesting. Last week, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. It was a real estate attorney named David. He'd heard about my situation through the professional grapevine and wanted to look at my case pro bono. After reviewing everything, he found something the first lawyers missed. The bank had violated several disclosure requirements when adding my parents to my account. Because the banker was James's friend and had a personal interest in the transaction, he should have recused himself or at minimum disclosed the conflict of interest. We're now suing the bank for negligence. The bank's initial settlement offer was $40,000. David thinks we can get more. Then yesterday happened. Yesterday was beautiful. James called me, sobbing. Actually sobbing. The house is in foreclosure. He's 2 months behind on payments, and my parents can't help anymore. They're maxed out on credit cards, have a personal loan they can't afford, and Dad's commission income has dried up. They're considering bankruptcy. Mike, please, James begged. You have to help me. I'll lose everything. Everything? I asked calmly. You mean you'll lose why everything? I know what Mom and Dad did was wrong, but... No, James. What Mom and Dad did was theft. What you did was receive stolen goods. And now you're facing the consequences. I could lose the house. It was never your house. It was built on stolen money. You'd really let your brother end up homeless? The same way you let me lose my entire savings? Yes. He hung up on me. Mom called an hour later. No more artificial brightness in her voice, just desperation. Michael, please. We made a mistake. We'll make it right. We'll sign the house over to you. The house that's in foreclosure? The house with a mortgage I can't afford? How generous. We're sorry, baby. We're so sorry. Are you sorry you did it, or sorry it didn't work out? She couldn't answer that. Final update, posted 2 months later. This will be my final update on this saga. The house is gone, but somehow I won. The foreclosure went through last month. James lived in his house for exactly 73 days before the bank took it back. He's now living with our parents, who had to sell their own house to avoid bankruptcy. They're renting a 2-bedroom apartment on the wrong side of town, all 3 of them cramped together, their relationship deteriorating daily based on what I hear from family members. The bank settlement came through, $65,000 after David's masterful negotiation. Combined with the GoFundMe and my aggressive savings since this happened, I'm back to $80,000. Not quite where I was, but close enough to move forward. But here's the real victory. Jennifer and I got married last weekend. A simple courthouse ceremony with just her family and my Aunt Linda. We used my rebuilt savings to buy a modest 3-bedroom house in a nice neighborhood. The same neighborhood where James briefly lived, actually. I drive past his foreclosed house every day on my way to work. There's a sold sign out front now. Someone got a great deal on a house with a distressed sale history. My parents weren't invited to the wedding, obviously. But they found out through Facebook when Jennifer's sister posted pictures. Mom called me crying, begging for forgiveness, saying she'd missed the most important day of her son's life. You missed a lot more than that, I told her. You missed the point where your son needed parents he could trust. James texted me a long rambling message about how I've destroyed the family and how he hopes I'm happy with my revenge. I responded with just one line, I'm happy with my life. The extended family is divided. Some think I should forgive them now that I've won. Others, like Aunt Linda, think I'm being too generous by even taking their calls. The truth is, I don't feel like I've won or lost. I feel like I've survived. I learned something valuable through all this. When people show you who they are, believe them. My parents showed me they valued James's comfort over my trust. James showed me he felt entitled to my success. And Jennifer showed me she'd stand by me through anything. There's talk now that my parents want to reconcile, to go to family therapy, to heal. They sent a letter through Aunt Linda with a check for $1,000, the first of many payments to make this right. I sent it back. You can't buy back trust. You can't put a price on betrayal. And you can't undo the moment when parents chose one son over another. James still posts on social media, trying to craft a narrative where he's the victim of predatory lending and a vindictive brother. But most people have figured out the truth. His high school friend at the bank? Fired for ethics violations. That felt good too. People ask if I'll ever forgive them. Maybe someday. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, and it certainly doesn't mean giving them another chance to destroy what I've built. They made their choice when they decided my brother's wants were more important than my trust. Now they get to live with that choice. As for me, I'm living well. Jennifer and I are planning for our future. The future I saved for, fought for, and ultimately won back. We're talking about kids, about the life we'll build together. A life built on trust, respect, and partnership. The things family should be about. The house is beautiful, by the way. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, a big backyard for the dogs we're planning to adopt. The previous owners mentioned they'd seen the house across the street go through foreclosure. Such a shame, they said. The young man living there seemed nice, but apparently couldn't afford it. Yeah, I agreed. A real shame. Every morning, I wake up in my house, actually mine, bought with my money, in my name. I make coffee in my kitchen, kiss my wife goodbye, and drive to work past the house my brother lost. Is it petty? Maybe. But it's also justice. The last time I saw my parents was at the grocery store. They looked older, smaller somehow. Mom started to approach me, but Dad put his hand on her arm and shook his head. They understand now, I think. They chose their side, and choices have consequences. James is apparently working 2 jobs now, trying to rebuild his credit. The experience of almost having everything and losing it seems to have finally taught him the lesson my parents never could. According to cousins, he's bitter but functioning. Good for him. Some people might read this and think I'm cruel, that I should have helped when James was about to lose the house, that family should forgive anything. But family shouldn't steal from you. Family shouldn't conspire against you. Family shouldn't value one member over another based on who they think needs it more. My family now is Jennifer, Aunt Linda, and the family we'll build together. It's smaller than the one I grew up with, but it's built on trust rather than manipulation, love rather than favoritism, and respect rather than betrayal. That's worth more than $85,000. That's worth everything. And sometimes, late at night, when I'm sitting in my living room with Jennifer, in the house I bought with the money I earned and saved and fought to get back, I think about that morning when I added my parents to my bank account. How Mom had tears in her eyes. Were they real or was she already acting? How Dad talked about trust while planning to break mine. I'll never know if they felt guilty as they walked into that bank and stole my future. I'll never know if they hesitated before signing that wire transfer. I'll never know if they truly thought I'd eventually understand and forgive them. But I know this, I survived their betrayal. I rebuilt my life. And I learned that sometimes the family you choose is worth more than the family you're born into. That's my story. Thank you all for following along, for your support, your advice, and your anger on my behalf. You helped me realize I wasn't crazy, I wasn't overreacting, and I deserved better. And now, finally, I have it.